Hi everyone, I am Shamveel. I have completed my diploma in optometry and I am currently pursuing a fellowship in Strabismus management at the Indian Academy of Optometry today. I am going to demonstrate today the identification of Strabismus based on the direction of deviation and the competency corner reflex, which is also called as a iceberg test and cover test. The strabismus is nothing but a misalignment of the eye based on the direction of the deviation. It is also classified into four types, which is called as a exo deviation, is eye turns inward, and the exo deviation eye turns outwards, and the hypodeviation the eye turns upwards, and the hypodeviation eye turns downward. It is a classified into two types in that is insecular deviation and the execular deviation. The insecular deviation means eye rotates inwards and the execular deviation means eye rotates outwards. There are two types of latency, that is the strabismus can classified into two types, that is manifest deviation and the latent deviation. The manifest deviation is tropia, it is also called as tropia, visible even when the both eyes are open. The latent deviation, which is also called as a phoria, appears only when the binocular fusion is disturbed. There is a classification based on this competency. The competency refers to a when there is a magnitude to a deviation remains the same in all the gaze position. There are two types of strabismus, that is competent strabismus and the incompetent strabismus. The competent strabismus means the deviation remains the same in all the direction of gaze, and the incompetent strabismus means the deviation varies in the different gaze position. Corneal reflex test, which we discussed called as a Tisper test. The test is performed using a torchlight which shines the light into the patient's nasal bridge of the nose, the temporal of the nose, and absorb the position of the corneal reflex. We can be introduce the corneal reflex into the reflex, replace the corneal reflex nasally, means which is also called as a exodeviation. The reflex temporally means called as a esodeviation. The reflex upward is also called as a hypodeviation. The reflex downward is called as a hyperdeviation. By estimating the degree of the deviation, which is classified into reflex at the pupillary margin, it is a 15-degree deviation. Reflex between the pupillary margin and the limbus is called as, it will be a 30-degree deviation. And the reflex between the pupillary margin and limbus, it will be a 30-degree deviation. And the reflex limbal margin, 45-degree deviation. Reflect at the scleral region, 50-degree or more. Now, let's go for a demonstration of the tau test. Now, I am going to the demonstration of the tau test on the patient. Now, I'm doing a cover and tau test. The cover test means we cannot find out the manifest skin. And uncover testing, we can find the latent skin, which is called as a hidden skin. This step is there. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, now I'm doing a hidden skin, which is called as a uncovered test. There is no any hidden skin. Now I am doing perspect test, which is called as a corneal reflex test. The fixation of the pupil is at the center of the point. There is no any issue of the. Now assisting the patient. Now I am checking the competency of the patient. Now please focus on this pen and while I am moving. The competence of the patient is normal. We cannot find any deviation of the patient.